Hello. Today I'd like to talk about introverted sensation as a richly textured function. SI is often thought of as woolen or wooden-headed in the Jungian community. This is an inaccurate perception bordering on slander. This is solely an appearance, not a reflection of the individual's experience. The reason for this is that the force of the experience is directed inwards, because SI is a contemplation of the impressions formed by thoughts, experiences, etc. A lack of outward expression should not be thought of as a lack of intense experience. SI has a highly textured, warm relation to experience that draws more out of concrete experiences than most intuitives have probably experienced. This is because intuition, by definition, is A, concerned with the unconscious and not with a conscious appreciation of what is going before oneself, and also because, by virtue of being intuitive in nature, it looks past the object, past the experience, towards different elements of the experience. It's important to draw a line between being unreceptive to new ideas, etc., which to some degree SI is by virtue of its conservative nature, or rather, it requires that new innovations, ideas, etc., be thoroughly justified to its satisfaction, and on the other hand, being woolenly cut off from the stuff of experience. It's not unusual in the Jungian community for particularly intuitives to gripe about the allegedly dull nature of SI types, but this is completely false and misdirected and again, essentially slanderous. It's not a question of being cut off from experience, it's a question of doing different things with the experience, drawing different things from the experience, and placing a different burden of proof on the legitimacy of new innovations and possibilities than intuitives generally do. For one thing, SI types generally require a higher standard of proof before changing their mind on a particular point. This can be a very useful and laudable thing, and intuitives in the Jungian community would do well not to simply dismiss their SI counterparts for being too dull or slow. SI presents a rich palette of experience to the subject, even if this is not strongly expressed outwards, especially with SI DOMs. You'll see this particularly with ISFJ and ISTJ actors who are capable of presenting a very richly textured character, whilst in their own private lives they're perhaps highly socially introverted, or perhaps even come across as cold. This is because SI is again richly textured in its experience and is subsequently capable of presenting a very rich expression of a character in a given circumstance, but it not infrequently, again particularly with SI DOMs, lacks the tools to express this unless the SI type in question has studied a particular mode of expression. For example, acting, painting, music, etc. This richly textured experience of SI types can be very valuable to intuitives in particular, since intuitives tend to ignore the world of concrete realities and of introverted impressions, and instead focus upon potentialities and things not always inherent in the object but painted onto the object in question. Thus, intuitives are in danger of missing out on a great deal of life and the human experience, and they would do well to tactfully draw out some of these experiences from willing SI types who would like to convey these things to them. Additionally, this will help the SI types in question to experience and express their SI more completely, which, as I mentioned before, can be an issue by virtue of the highly personal nature of SI. It's not unusual for an SI type to have to walk through an experience in a very deliberate and concrete fashion in order to give it some conveyance to the world, because generally speaking, language is not a particularly good conduit for the complexity of experiences that they have. Additionally, and again this is particularly true for intuitives, one should remember that if an SI type opposes an innovation or plan of yours, that he's doing so out of an honest disagreement, not out of wool-headed denseness. Again, this is a particularly egregious problem in the Jungian community, where SI types are frequently maligned as being stupid, reactionary, or overly conservative. It should be remembered that many of the things that we take for granted on a daily basis are carried out with a reliability and a precision that we have all come to depend on because they're carried out by SI types, and they thereby bring their laudable reliability to many segments of life that could not do without it. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next video.